Hi, everyone. My name is Diana.
Hello, I'm Zach.
I'm Keon.
I'm Takal, and we'll be presenting on Starbucks. Our presentation consists of a brief pastel analysis on Starbucks, a description of the company, and how the company operated before COVID-19 and what changed, the evaluation of the change, what we recommend, and a recap of our discussion. Our analysis on Starbucks political factors are where the sources of their raw materials may affect their operations because they would have to ensure that they abide by the fair trade laws. And economic factors would be having to monitor international economies and employment rates, as well as observing the economies of their suppliers, especially during this pandemic. Sociological factors are that Starbucks must consider are racial equality, changes in consumer preferences, and potential rises or decreases in demand in coffee culture. A racial equality issue in 2018 made Starbucks shut down 8,000 locations for half a day to conduct racial bias training for all their partners. Technological factors that Starbucks has integrated into their stores are offering Wi-Fi, adding charging stations into their stores, implementing mobile payments as well as online orders, and other additional technological advances in their supply chain. This has given the company an opportunity to draw in more customers and increase customer engagement through their Starbucks app. Some environmental factors that may impact Starbucks are sourcing, their supply chain, and climate change. Because Starbucks is an advocate for environmental issues, they would have to make sure that their sourcing and supply chain is reflective of those values in order to retain customer trust. And legal factors are having to be in compliance with all the laws and regulations in all 70 countries that Starbucks operates, such as the different taxes, labor laws in order to avoid facing fines or legal actions from government. The first store opened in 1971 in Seattle's Pike Place Market 49 years ago. In 1986, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks and is the current owner. Starbucks currently operates in 78 countries, has over 29,000 locations, and employs 291,000 workers. Starbucks sells, purchases, and roasts high-quality coffee, as well as sell high-quality tea beverages and sell a variety of high-quality foods.
Starbucks has been growing steadily for years now. From 2014 to 2019, Starbucks has almost doubled their earnings per share. Like most companies in 2020, Starbucks had an uphill battle. While Starbucks had a normal quarter one and a normal quarter two, quarter three is where they really saw the damage. Starbucks lost upward of 2.5 billion in revenue alone. Additionally, Starbucks lost roughly 1 billion in sales alone. Quarter three also showed their only loss in operating income. The loss of sales is attributed to Starbucks having to close their inside service due to the pandemic. Looking at this graph on the top left and on the bottom, it shows Starbucks fiscal year of 2019. There you see the numbers across the board are relatively similar. Comparing those numbers to 2020, you can see 2020's numbers are very sporadic. Next, Starbucks has been continuing to adjust to the new selling landscape due to COVID-19, that they have been making the slight accommodations to their inside stores to be able to reopen. Starbucks ultimately ended up being able to reopen their inside service, around quarter four. Quarter four net income was around the average of quarter one and quarter two, showing a positive stint, especially coming outside of a pandemic. However, operating income was down on quarters 2 and 3 and 4 this year. In quarter 4, Starbucks was down roughly 2 million. As you can see on the graph, Starbucks finished quarter 4 with the normal numbers averaging 6 to 7 million per quarter. As in the third quarter, you only saw roughly around 4 million. Another thing to notice about Starbucks earning per share is the totals for each quarters. In quarter three, Starbucks had a negative earnings per share. Starbucks had the biggest loss this year in the United States. On the bottom, you will see that Starbucks did not lose too much money in China, and all other countries lost, in total, lost only half of what the United States have lost. Even with all the struggles of 2020, Starbucks made a strong effort to still give back to the community, giving back to first responders fighting the pandemic. Starbucks has donated close to 2 million cups and 300 care packages to first responders. Furthermore, Starbucks is looking to have a positive fiscal year in 2021. Starbucks earning per share is expected to climb from 55 cents earnings per share to 275 earnings per share. As you can see on this graph, received from the Starbucks 10K form, Starbucks is looking to grow specifically well in their earnings per share at the bottom. Additionally, Starbucks is expecting an 18 to 23% growth overall in the fiscal year of 2021.
Okay, so now we're going to be talking about how they previously operated. To start off, Starbucks uses the matrix organizational structure. They use this structure because it makes it easier for them to communicate information throughout their organization, as well as better manage individual stores in different regions they operate in. In the past, Starbucks had more corporate employees, therefore corporate teams were bigger, which ended up being a problem for them because it hindered their ability to be agile and more innovative. And how they previously operated at their physical stores was they used to handwrite orders, which resulted in slower operations. And also they had multiple coffee machines, which caused baristas to unnecessarily have to hop from machine to machine for certain orders, which again resulted in them taking longer to get drinks out. They also had limited drive-through locations, relied on in-person orders and some in-app orders as well. And they also had to change their third place strategy because the COVID-19 restrictions didn't allow for in-person dining. And what changed? So what changed at their physical locations was Starbucks added new all-in-one espresso machines to remedy the issue of hopping from machine to machine. With the new machines, coffee machines, it should help them get drinks out quicker and reduce wait times. In addition, in the past, Starbucks didn't involve their partners when it came to new technology, such as the app, which caused some issues at their physical stores, where some baristas were having issues handling the abundance of orders through the app and in store. So to remedy this, Starbucks added tablet-based order management systems for their workers and adjusted the pickup counters. And how Starbucks changed their strategy was shifting from their former third place strategy to a more on-the-go strategy for convenience and to comply with COVID-19 restrictions. This allowed them to extend their digital relationship with their customers as well. And how management has changed was that they had to delayer their corporate structure by announcing layoffs of corporate employees in 2018. So we're going to talk about the change process, and we're going to be using Kotter's 8 steps. But we're only going to talk about a couple steps that we've used. So Starbucks established a sense of urgency when the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions caused an alarming rate of declining sales. And after they formed a powerful guiding coalition by getting their executives and partners on board with the strategic changes to the organization, they created a vision for change by explaining how the plan to transition their stores from a third place to a more on-the-go experience for a more convenient factor for their customers by utilizing the Starbucks app, curbside pickup, having more drive-throughs, adding walk-up windows, etc., in order to gain back sales. They communicated the vision by communicating their proposed changes within the store and explaining how this may help drive up sales during this typical time. They were able to empower action by explaining how this new strategy would be beneficial for their stores and ensured that everyone involved understands why the change needed to be done and empowered everyone to implement these changes.
So now moving on to the evaluation of our change. As mentioned before, in the pandemic, Starbucks revenue dropped about 5%. This drop might have been worse if Starbucks didn't have the app that they already had in place. People started interacting with the app more, and the overall new members signing up for it increased about 17% in their second quarter. Additionally, those who utilized the rewards program increased about 5% in this time. Starbucks managed to succeed using some of their digital infrastructure that it already had in place, but at the time, it didn't necessarily rely on it as its sole place for revenue. Given some of the other companies' positions in the market due to COVID, it is clear that Starbucks was successful, as successful as one could hope in navigating this unforeseen change that it underwent. Moving in, so now we're going to speak on some recommendations. So moving into the digital space and moving away from that space would then allow some traditional brick and mortar stores to become less about the traditional atmosphere of Starbucks that we all know and love, and more about simplified purchasing experience. This is because due to the pandemic, many people aren't as likely to physically go into the stores. Therefore, we feel that they should expand their digital marketplace. Although the matrix organizational structure works best for them, it still has its flaws. With this type of structure, role clarity tends to be an issue since employees have been placed into multiple roles. We recommend them be more consistent with assigning job roles that align with each employee's job description to avoid confusion. In addition, offer additional training to allow all employees to complete tasks effectively. Overall, Starbucks changes were successful. With their changes from the third place experience to convenient on-the-go experience, with the increased use of their Starbucks app, curbside pickup and delivery allowed them to slowly recover from the hit that the pandemic dealt. Although Starbucks has seen significant losses in revenue this year, the changes they've implemented were successful, as seen with the increase in customer engagement on their apps. Corporate layoffs back in 2018 allowed them to delayer their corporate structure, which in turn allowed them to be more flexible, agile, and innovative in this unknown time. Thank you for joining us in our lecture, and let us know how we did in the comments.